Hello everyone. Back again with film recaps. In this video, I'm going to recap one of the thriller adventure films from 2024, titled 40 Acres. Before we get to the storyline, I'd like to wish everyone a happy and great day. Without further ado, let's get straight to the storyline. The movie opens in a dystopian world, where 14 years ago, a ruthless fungal outbreak annihilated 98% of all animal life on Earth. The collapse of the global food chain sparked brutal wars that inflicted deeper wounds on an already starving population. And for that reason, the most precious commodity left in the world is farmland, the last lifeline capable of keeping mankind alive. In the next scene, a group of armed people cautiously crosses a vast farm, and approaches an isolated house. One man calls out to the residents inside, praising their crops and farmland, while others attempt to sneak in through various entrances, but one of them is quickly killed. The man outside insists that they are just passing through, and need a place to rest, but a sharp whistling sound can be heard in the distance. And then all of a sudden, all the armed men, whether in the field or inside the house, are struck down one by one. A kid named Cookie also instantly shoots a man to his death. Soon, a storm of bullets rips through the house, during which most of the intruders are taken down. We then meet a woman named Haley, who moves quickly through the crops, and eliminates multiple men with ruthless precision. She radios her daughter Rain, who is standing by the window, and firing at the strangers. Meanwhile, Haley's son, Manny, also captures a fleeing intruder and brutally stabs her. After all the intruders are taken down, the family reunites to inspect the dead bodies. We then meet several other members, including Haley's husband, Galen, and another daughter, Danis. They wonder how the intruders breached their defenses, and resolve to fortify the property even more securely to ensure no one can ever break in again. In the evening, the family, who are called the Freemans, sits together for dinner, where the kids practice their whistling signals used to communicate in case of potential threats. They also discuss routine matters, crop management, and perimeter security. Haley then gives Manny a mission to deliver supplies to her friend, Augusta, who lives miles away. She warns him to be very careful, not to approach strangers, or become involved with anyone. In the following days, we see the family's routine, which includes fight training, running drills, sharpening their aim by shooting at targets, and inspecting the electric fences that surround their property. They also go hunting in the woods for edible food, while several CCTV cameras monitor the perimeter. Haley frequently listens to the radio for updates on other survivors and the state of the nearby farmland. One evening, Haley speaks with Augusta, who warns of a group of ruthless robbers that have already attacked 3 farming families. She thus asks Haley to visit them for a couple of days and train these people, which could make a lot of difference. However, Haley firmly refuses her friend, saying she can't risk the exposure. The next morning, Manny leaves the house in a vehicle, and after a while, he arrives at a dilapidated building. He finds a box labeled Augusta, which he quickly fills with supplies before leaving. Meanwhile, back home, Haley receives a chilling call from Augusta. She reveals that a farming family known as the Flemings has died, including their children. The shock hits Haley hard, but Augusta further horrifies her by revealing that they were not only dead, but had been eaten by cannibals, who are a big organized group. Elsewhere, Manny is seen swimming in a river on the way home. But after he exits the water, he spots an attractive girl swimming nearby and instantly feels intrigued. He then spies on her through his sniper scope, and watches as she heads toward a hidden settlement deep in the forest. Upon returning home, Manny can't stop thinking about the girl, so he returns to the river the next day, but she's nowhere to be found. And so, he begins sketching her in a desperate attempt to hold on to the memory. Days later, Manny, Galen, and Danis arrive at a depot, where they hope to find any useful supplies. They carefully scan the area, but Danis's eyes widen in horror when she spots several bodies hanging from the ceiling. The trio soon comes across a group of soldiers and immediately points their guns at them. But one of the soldiers calmly reveals that they are members of the military, and are living with a local family to support farmers in the area. Galen inquires whether they are staying with the Fleming family, which the soldier confirms. And upon hearing this,
You must be part of the network.
Galen reveals to the kids that the Flemings are dead. Before leaving, Manny suggests checking the bodies for anything useful, so Galen urges him to make it quick. Dennis then searches a bag on one of the deceased, but we notice an elderly woman who had been playing dead slowly standing up. And then, the woman fires a sharp shot into her abdomen and swiftly runs away. Later, we see Galen rushing back to the farm with an injured Dennis, on whom Haley performs an emergency procedure, and manages to stabilize. Despite this, Manny feels guilty, since he was the one who suggested they stay to check the bodies, but Rain says it wasn't his fault, and Dennis is still alive because of him. Afterwards, Haley tries to contact Augusta to inform her about the incident, but her friend doesn't answer for some reason. That night, Manny suddenly hears strange noises from the woods, and bolts toward the sound to investigate. He spots a girl in the darkness and yells at her not to move, but he's shocked to see that it's the same girl from the river, pleading desperately for help. The next morning, Galen and Haley order the kids to stay armed and alert at all times, even when they're sleeping. They warn about a group of people posing as soldiers to gather information, but they're more likely cannibals seeking far more than equipment or land. Haley firmly urges the kids to shoot first, and don't ask questions. Afterward, Manny heads alone to the barn, where we see he has secretly tied up the girl from last night. Manny tries to calm her down by assuring her that he doesn't want to hurt her. He then removes her gag and offers her water, then carefully tries to tend to her wound. She accuses him of kidnapping her, to which he responds that he's only doing this because of his mother, who doesn't trust strangers. That night, Manny returns to the barn, and informs the girl that there have been several incidents recently, and he needs to know who she is, and what she's doing here. The girl begs to use the radio, but he refuses, stating that he cannot allow it. She soon breaks down, admitting she just needs to know if her people are alive, so Manny feels bad and finally unties her. The girl then reveals that all she needs is a radio, so she can find the Freeman farm, which stuns the boy. When he asks why, she responds that her aunt told her the Freemans are the only ones who could help. Following this, the two finally start opening up to each other, and Manny talks about his love for swimming. The girl admits she had noticed him watching her at the river, which leaves Manny a little embarrassed. The next morning, Haley urges her family to get ready for the day, but she notices that Manny is missing. Back in the barn, the new girl is using Manny's music player and dancing freely while he watches with excitement. But that excitement turns to horror when his parents suddenly arrive, and Haley grabs the new girl away without hesitation. Manny is locked inside the barn, where he frantically tries to break the door open. Outside, Haley confronts the girl with a gun, and demands that she truthfully say who she is. The girl responds that her name is Dawn, and she works as a nurse for a government program that provides medical support to farms. She admits they were attacked, but Haley doesn't believe her and fires a warning shot. The panicked girl finally admits she was sent here by her aunt, Augusta, which leaves Haley frozen in shock. Elsewhere, Manny has escaped the barn and goes to the control room, where he desperately tries to contact Augusta. But he receives no response, and his enraged mother arrives moments later. Manny claims that Augusta may be in trouble and needs their help. But Haley states Augusta is a Marine who can handle herself, while their job is to stay here and protect the farm. She also scolds him for falling into this new girl's trap, and insists that Dawn is lying to them. This leads to a heated argument between the mother and son, which ends with Manny storming off. In the next scene, Manny takes Dawn, and sets out in a vehicle to find Augusta. Shortly after, Haley discovers their disappearance and rushes to catch up with them. Manny and Dawn soon arrive at her camp, only to find it deserted with no signs of people around. Back on the farm, Galen notices that one of their cameras has malfunctioned, and goes out to investigate what caused it. Elsewhere, Dawn brings Manny to an abandoned trailer, and it is here that she shockingly confesses to him that she lured him here on purpose. She nervously reveals how the cannibals kidnapped her aunt and several others, and sent her to bring him here. Dawn explains that this is how they are taking over farms by holding people's families hostage, and we see someone sneaking up behind him. In another scene, Haley finally arrives at Augusta's house, which is eerily empty, with blood splattered across the floors and walls. She frantically searches for any clue to her friend's whereabouts. but then all of a sudden, returning to the farm, Galen spots a deer in the distance, which is an impossible sight, since these animals are believed extinct, right when a man knocks him unconscious. The deer head is actually just a mask worn by a cannibal man, who stays behind to eat Galen, while his friends cautiously make their way inside the house. Meanwhile, at the house, Rain and Cookie notice that all the CCTV camera signals are gone, and realize the cannibals have arrived. And so, Rain firmly urges her little sister to stay there, and positions herself at the window with a rifle and observes the intruders approaching the house. Unbeknownst to her, her father is currently being nailed to the ground by two cannibals. One even proceeds to bite him, so Galen violently rips his hand free and brutally stabs both attackers with the nail in his hand and manages to kill them. In another scene, Haley is startled awake in a dark basement while tied up. She also notices an injured Augusta there. Back at the farm, Rain spots a group of cannibals closing in, and fires her rifle relentlessly. She takes down several of them, but the survivors fire back fiercely and shatter the window. Galen then urgently calls Rain, ordering her to abandon her position and retreat downstairs immediately. Elsewhere, Haley mentions the girl who arrived at the farm claiming to be her niece, so Augusta reveals that the cannibals forced her to go there, and she thought Haley would have shot her on sight. Haley then promises to get them out of here, but Augusta informs her that she has hidden some children who must also be rescued. Just then, the cannibals return, and their leader informs Haley that she's different from the others, and doesn't care what happens to other families. Haley expresses disgust over how they eat humans, but the leader points out that she also kills people, and even makes her children do so. He claims they aren't so different, and they're just doing what they need to survive. At this point, one of the men brutally slices Augusta to prepare her for food, while Haley can do nothing but watch helplessly. The scene then returns to Manny and Dawn with 3 children, who are desperately eating food as if they haven't been fed in a long time. Dawn thanks Manny for the food, and apologizes for bringing him here, otherwise, these children would have died. Manny understands her situation and declares he'll go to rescue her aunt, after which they all can leave. The scene returns to Haley, who is unconscious, and a bald man approaches to prepare for the kill. However, she quickly overpowers him, violently strangles him, and kills him. Haley then grabs a nearby rifle, just as the cannibal leader walks in.
But I can make sure none of them harm your family.
Back at the farm, Galen and the kids take shelter in the basement, but Dennis is still upstairs and hiding in a closet. Galen thus prepares to rescue her, and strictly warns his daughters to stay here. Elsewhere, Haley tries to leave the basement, and at the door, she reunites with Manny, who has come looking for Augusta. Manny is horrified to see Augusta's dead body, and he now finally understands that everything Haley's doing is to protect the family. Returning to the farm, Galen moves cautiously upstairs, just as Rain pulls a switch which shuts all the blinds and turns off the lights. And so, Galen takes advantage of the darkness.
Come on!
After they are all dead, he tells Rain to turn on the lights, and we see that he's also severely injured. On the other hand, Manny and Haley reunite with Dawn and the 3 kids. When Dawn learns that her aunt is dead, she is devastated and overwhelmed with grief. Back at the farm, Galen brings Dennis to the basement, but he soon collapses to the floor due to severe loss of blood. The panicked girls quickly rush to his help, and manage to stabilize him for now. Rain then checks the CCTV, and discovers 2 intruders are still outside and spilling gasoline everywhere to burn the place. Despite being injured, Galen is confident he can still take them down, and asks her to let them in. Outside, Haley and the kids cautiously approach the farm when suddenly, a hail of bullets bursts toward them. Haley urgently tells Manny to take the kids to the basement, and promises she'll handle things here. Elsewhere, Rain finally lets the 2 cannibals inside, and shows them her sister, Dennis, lying unconscious, and reveals that she was shot. One cannibal holds a blade to Danny's throat, while another one proceeds to scan the area. Outside, Haley is shot, but despite the pain, she manages to take down several cannibals. She soon runs out of bullets, which leaves her with no choice but to run away. Back in the basement, one of the cannibals opens a hidden door that leads her to a room full of ammunition. She also finds a cabinet filled with spices and herbs that excites her since it's nearly impossible to find this stuff. Just then, Galen quickly rises and shoots her dead, while Dennis stabs the other cannibal in the back, after which Rain shoots him to death. Shortly after, Manny and the kids arrive at the basement, where Rain is annoyed to see Dawn back, along with additional kids. But Dawn ignores her and quickly rushes to help Galen, who is critically injured. Meanwhile, Manny decides to head out again since his mother is still in danger and needs to be saved. Outside, we see Haley limping toward the barn, but she's quickly cornered by the last 3 surviving cannibals. Despite her injuries, she pushes through the pain, and manages to kill 2 men by stabbing them. Unfortunately, the 3rd cannibal stabs her in the back, and overpowers her. But as he's about to finish her, Manny appears and shoots the cannibal to death. He then frantically rushes to help Haley, but her condition is critical because of multiple severe injuries. Manny begs her to stay awake, but the poor mother soon closes her eyes, leaving the distraught boy crying and screaming. The scene then cuts to a few days later, when life has gradually returned to normal, and the children are seen working together to set the table for lunch. But moments later, something unexpected happens when we see Haley slowly limp downstairs, revealing she has survived her injuries. As the movie ends, the family gathers around, enjoying their meal, while Haley watches them with affection and pride shining in her eyes. Okay guys, thanks for watching. See you again in the next video.